Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the JESS MARSHALL Podcast. Wow. Mark that swipe. Bring it. When you were growing up, do you remember, from the very beginning, you were bouncing a ball or had a ball in your hand in the crib, or you were, was that your thing, or did that kind of come later on for you?
No, ever since I remember, I've been in sports. I've been, my parents had us all actively involved with baseball, basketball, football. We were in sports year round, as early as I can remember, and started out in baseball, then going into football. Really found out pretty early on that I was pretty talented in football.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was there was just something there that slowed itself down for you more naturally than the other sports, or did you just like that energy more?
I like the feel of scoring touchdowns. I like the team aspect. I like being physical, being able to hit.
Facing fears.
Yeah.
Because it's counterintuitive, right? Go out there and run into this guy.
Yeah. I mean, especially back when I grew up, or football was different. You having this bull in the ring, you line up in the middle, and they just call a number, and it can be from behind your side, your whatever, and you're just gonna they're trying to run over you. Yeah.
Is that what they would call it for you? Bull in the ring in high school and at Cal, or was that a?
No, it was outlawed by that time.
Yeah.
But when I was
outlawed.
7 years,
everything's gotten so soft. It's just crazy.
Well, they outlawed that. I mean, I think when I got to at least middle school or high school by that time, and they had some injuries, some significant injuries that had happened, I think, across the country that made them put that rule in place. But yeah, I like that aggressiveness and being able to unleash some of that out there on the field, and the feeling that I got scoring a touchdown, that rush, that adrenaline. It's like, man, there's something I'm passionate about. And I saw a guy one Sunday named Barry Sanders that it's like, man, if he can do it, man.
Was that your guy?
That was my guy.
What are his measurables compared to yours?
I mean,
pretty close.
I mean, as far as height, yes, height. He might have been a little bit heavier.
40 a little, I don't know.
Oh, for sure. He was definitely fast. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
There's something weird. There's something like a little weird going on there that he's that fast.
Yeah, he's fast. He's strong. Yeah, I mean, he's a freak of nature. I mean, he's one of those players that I think could play any era, like into this day's era where, we just, people are running the combine, defensive linemen are running 4.3 40s now. Yeah. And, I think he could play and thrive in this space.
Did you, when you were playing football, did you know halfback, running back, that's what you wanted? I mean, that was a little before the spread became so big to where you could have been an X receiver, like a Wes Welker type even, Or did you just know that's what you wanted to do?
Well, the running back position was kind of something I was thrown into. My dad tells the story well where I didn't play until the second half of my first game, and my first carry, I got smashed. I got hit in the backfield, and it was slow to get up afterwards. Asked me if I wanted to come out, and I was like, nah, I'm going to stay in. And the next carry I got, I went 70 yards and scored a touchdown.
That's pretty cool.
And been running ever since. So that was kind of that adrenaline rush, that the feeling, that emotion, that high that I got from there. I was like, man, I want to be able to run the ball. I want the ball in my hands as much as possible. And at that time, the way football was, the running back was more involved. You weren't catching many passes or anything like that. There was those days of Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders. They were handing the ball off. So
I think those days are coming back if you've watched the last few Super Bowls in terms of the concentration on running the ball, on controlling the line, controlling the time of possession.
Yep.
It's got value to it. The pretty let's score in 2 minutes thing, that's a really neat trick, but I don't see a lot of those guys keeping jobs. Case in point, Coach Bro in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't. If you're scoring that fast and then you make your defense go out there and stop another ball dominant offense for 42 minutes, there's no way.
Everything is full circle. Things that were out of style come back into style. And I think that's no different with football. I'm sure we're going to get back to an era where, we're going to see more power high. We're going to see like the Mike Allstotts and of the world, and Moose Johnsons of the world, where it's run first. But
Yeah, the when you're young, getting slotted into a position is a weird thing, though.
Yeah.
Did you play on the other side too? Did they have you playing safety?
I played defensive line. I played linebacker.
Really?
I played corner. I played almost every position, and I don't know if it was just a rule where guys were rotating. I don't think I played offensive line, but I definitely played fullback at some point. Played receiver, tight end, but yeah, I just being slotted in that position, but being good at it, it became where I started having so much success that it was like, well, if we want to win, we got to get this guy more carries.
That's cool.
So.
Did you grow up where your dad was predominantly your coach on every team you played? Or was he a contributor more than like a head coach?
No, my dad worked. He would drop me off. I mean, he was early on, he was a truck driver. And he would, I could see even now visualizing him dropping us off in a semi-truck to practices.
Really?
And I had pop off of the 18-wheeler and go run into the practice. And we didn't have jerseys. I would wear his shirts over my pads, over my shoulder pads, his work shirts. So
are you still in Florida at this point?
Yeah, I'm in Florida. Yep.
You grew up there, so you were born there and then
raised.
Moved up here when you were, a freshman in high school?
No, a junior.
Really?
Mm-hmm. My last 2 years I spent in Arlington.
What's the difference for all the people who talk about the difference between Florida football and Texas football?
Yeah, I believe.
Dion says there's no dogs left.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
I think that there's.
Hey, that guy! Wow,
Yeah.
He's changing the game, man.
Yeah.
It's not. He's disrupting. It's so legit.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
My brother is on staff there, so
Seriously?
yeah.
What's he doing?
He's the chief of staff there, so
That's awesome.
Handling a lot of back end and management, hiring, firing, and
Working twice as long because you got to get all that content.
Yeah,
so
you got to get that
the
content
job
out.
done,
Yeah,
but then you
yeah,
got to get all the content too.
Yeah. So he's doing that. So I'm happy for him.
That's cool, man.
But yeah, the difference, I say the athleticism. I think just like a core group, solid group of more athleticism in the skill position in Florida, I see. Here, the whole culture of football is just bigger, right? And I feel like, again, when I got here, you would see small towns shut down and everybody going into the football game. They invest more into the sport, right? It is even back then, whether it was nutrition and facilities and working out, the size of the player, I felt like the players were a lot larger here in stature. Like your offensive lineman, your defensive lineman, these guys were, they look like grown men.
It's that panhandle beef, man.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's gotta be. I don't know. Or it's that Texas ask forgiveness, not permission attitude.
Yeah, right.
Texas and Florida are great can-do states, and I have family who lives in Florida. I've spent some time there. Texas, though, I tell people all the time, and they're like, well, why? Because where I'm from, up by Seattle, it's very pretty. You move here, and you start looking around and going 100 straight days of 100 degrees, no rain, and these allergies.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But then I said, I didn't know that the good Lord made girls that looked like this. I had no idea that this even existed.
Yeah.
So I came to love the 100 degrees.
No, yeah. No, it's, being here, it's a lot of advantages, especially now if you're in the business space. It's really hard to beat, especially if you travel a lot.
Yeah. You grow up with a hard-working dad that's modeled for you. Like no options. We just get up, we handle business, we do it all over again. Consistency, discipline, things like that. Were those things that you got to see every day?
Yeah, great question. I think what was modeled to me is that we get the job done by any means necessary. No matter what obstacles may arise, we just find a way. And it may take humbling yourself to get the job done. It may take shots at your ego to get the job done. But at the end of the day, we get the job done. And my dad did a host of things, whether it was truck driving, whether it was opening up a restaurant that we had for many years in Florida. He was a preacher.
So he had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Oh, for sure.
Like
for sure.
taking risks, having ideas, but not just leaving them there, following them through.
For sure, him and my mother. My mom very much in the picture. She's kind of visionary, but she worked at the blood bank. She worked in the restaurant.
Was your mom the visionary and your dad more the integrator?
Yeah. If you break it down there, I think it was.
Are you a
rocket
Gino
fuel.
Wickman? Okay. All
Yeah.
Cool. Right on.
So yeah, that kind of, I guess, perspectives from those two. That's what they brought to the table. And those talent, their kind of core competencies were just that, and just hard working. Watch them overcome a lot, and we weren't humble. Had humble beginnings, financially unstable, bouncing around from place to place, never owned a home.
Yeah, I think I watched a video. You said, man, sometimes maybe there wasn't something to eat some nights.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't that great.
Yeah, it was just we get the basics, whether it's, maybe we find out some leftover, had some chicken or whatnot, and make it some scraps happen. But they did a really good job of making it feel like we weren't lacking.
Yeah.
Right. Even when we were at our very lowest, when we were just living out of a motel at the edge of town, as I look back at it now, and I knew at that point that there was something like, okay, as we were living in this motel, for all five of us, I'm a middle child of three boys. My parents and we're there, and we're this room 108 in this motel room.
Wow, you remember the room number?
Oh man, like it was yesterday, because it was a formative point in my life, in which I remember the carpet, the blue-green vomit-looking carpet on the floor, 2 full-size beds to fit all 5 of us, and the large window that overlooked the main highway that ran through our city, and me begging and pleading to my dad to just, hey, park our car in the back, because I don't want to have to explain this condition to my classmates. I'm 12 years old at the time.
Oh, they can drive by.
They can drive by and we're in the main highway, so they see our car.
Gotcha.
And you got to ask questions. So I knew at that point, it's like, okay, now, why we're not at home, and that part was like, in my mind, like, okay, I don't want to ever have to deal with this as a grown up. Like,
okay.
I don't want my kids to ever have to deal with this. So now, how am I going to get out? How am I going to make sure that that's going to be the case? And, football was going to be my vehicle out. I felt like I had talent there. I knew I had faith. Like, faith was a big part of my journey. Like, without my faith, I wouldn't be here today, in the right mind that I'm in.
Was there a formative time in your life where you remember your faith walk starting, or was it more of a, like little kids will say, especially non-denom churches, like, I asked Jesus into my heart, and sometimes they'll go up and say it in front of everyone, and everyone will clap.
Yeah.
Was there or was it sometimes like if it was for me, it's because I had gotten in big trouble. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, for me, it was definitely, I could point back to that time as I was in middle school, in which I had heard about God. I remember I hear this to my dad preaching about him every Sunday, and I'm in the back pew, usually sleep. But it was in this point of which there was pressure with this where our living situation, but there was also pressure just internally. I'm a middle child, so I had that middle child syndrome, feeling like I never got the best, right, of anything, and never really fit in any spot.
See, y'all did get the best, all y'all middles.
Yeah.
Because the oldest, which is what I am, they're learning.
Yeah.
The youngest, I think, actually, I'm wrong. The youngest gets the easiest.
Oh, for sure.
By then,
the babies.
the war of attrition has just completely won it for them, and they're like, I'll take all the Jordans, and I'll take, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. So it was in that point where I was like, God, like, if you are who you say you are, I want to accept you in my life. I want to give you a shot, and you want to use me.
Was someone walking you through that, or were you like having an experience?
No, it was
like you and
so it
God.
Is me. I could feel him pulling at my heart. Now,
was it like during the service, and they got some good music going, right, and all that?
Well, it was a combination of like he was working on my heart before I got to that point. But when I
Okay.
got to that point, it was just like I'm in church and it's like, is this the time? And I can remember just like, okay, the time is now. This is the time when I got to make the decision. And at prior times before, I may have been walked up and say, hey, I want to give my life to Christ. But this time was vivid and where it's like, okay, it's really me making the decision, not
You
me
seem
being-
like you were probably a sweet kid though. Were you
Yeah.
were you bad?
I got in a lot of trouble at home, but
Yeah.
like nowhere else. Like I stayed out of trouble, got good grades, but could be defiant, could be very smart, had
Yeah.
a smart mouth.
Do you think when you look at like little things like having to live out of a hotel, maybe having to forage for some food here and there, a lot of people look at that, especially in this day and age where being a victim is like almost praised. Like we spend more time talking about the trauma than we talk about what happened when we fought through the trauma and then what happened on the other end. But do you think those types of things taught you really good life skills like resourcefulness, cleverness, being observant, things like that you wouldn't have learned if things were maybe a little more, you had everything you needed all the time, you never had to even think about it?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that we need to fail as much as possible. We need to embrace as much adversity
Yeah, you say that a lot.
as possible. Right.
I like to turn it off when you say that because I'm like that. That's hard to hear, man.
It's hard, and I realize the importance of it now more than ever as a father of 5 kids, and trying to like natural inclination is just to like make sure they never have to deal with those same things I dealt with, but get the lessons that I learned from it. But it's really hard to teach those things without putting them through some type of adverse moments. Yeah. So when there are moments in which I can show them like let them experience that heartache and that disappointment and that frustration, I allow them to process that and live in that moment, because I know those moments are going to shape them. You either going to when your back is against the wall and you're going against some really tough stuff, it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
And you really, what your character and your integrity and just like that mental toughness is developed in that point and it's revealed in that moment, and those things will shape your future. Like how you handle those things, even as a kid, it will start bringing up these like this like muscle memory in your mind and in your body on like, how do I respond when I don't get my way?
How do I respond when I give it everything and it still doesn't work?
It doesn't work.
You start to learn who you are when things are not going well, way faster and more vivid. I think you've used formative a few times.
Yeah.
Those things, they cement yourself in your brain. Those memories cement themselves in your brain when they're in the middle of trying times.
Yeah. Because you get to draw back from those moments.
Yeah.
It's like, if I made it through that, if I made it through whatever heartache, a disappointment, a broken relationship, a broken business deal, a rejection from a sports team, homelessness, if you can make it through some of those, it just like, it builds up that like kind of like that callus for where, okay, I've been through hard stuff before, so I know how to get through. Like I can push myself to a point to say, okay, Justin, I know it's hard, I know it's tough, but I can persevere. I've done it before, and it wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things. It may be some heartache, it may be something that I may have regretted going through to a degree, but it really allowed me to have that muscle, that endurance that I need in order to keep going for whatever future obstacle that may come on us.
Well, when you after the season's over and then you chill for a couple weeks, and then the coach is telling everybody, you better be running. I'm weighing you guys in 3 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then everyone's lifting and all that, and everybody starts feeling real good about themselves, but they haven't been taking any hits.
Yeah.
And it's those first couple of weeks where the live hits are, where you get battle hardened. That's what the Spartans used to do. The Spartans used to hit each other with the broadside of their swords as hard as they could to build up their calluses.
Man.
Like, have you ever seen the pit bulls they used to hunt the hogs, like out in East Texas?
Oh yeah.
You see how they're just they have like inches of callus because they're running through this underbrush. That's what bumping up against hard things, painful things, failures, disappointments is all about.
Yep. So that's why I believe and why I preach now is like we got to find ways. We can't run from those moments. Because like you mentioned, we're in a society and a culture now where we want to avoid those moments as much as possible for fear of failure, fear of perception of what others how they may perceive them, and just fear of just the pain of heartache, of disappointment, of adversity that it just brings. Like no one just wants to feel that, because it's tough. Let's not sugarcoat it, right?
Yeah.
When you go through some real bad stuff and rejection and adversity, it's painful, and no one wants to just like live in that. But if you can endure, if you can just
persevere,
if you can just persevere to the end of it, you will see that, man, it will make you so much better. Like us running into the fire. The story I love most about one of my favorite Bible stories is David and Goliath, and it's culturally a lot of people know the story, right? Yeah. What I love most about that story,
5 smooth stones, bro.
Yes, David and Goliath, is that when David was faced with the giant, his disposition and his mode of offense and attacking the giant was to take his stones and run directly to him.
Yeah.
He didn't wait back to say, I'm going to respond to whatever he sends to me, like, and I'm a counter.
Sure.
If you want to attack a giant or slay a mountain that's before you, you got to attack it. You got to go after it. You got to meet it before it builds up steam. Yeah. And that's how I love about the story about David, and been most of my life being the underdog, being undervalued, underappreciated. I see myself in David, because when obstacles come, I'm also triggered because I've been through so much and overcome so much of that. Okay, now it's got to be attack mode.
Do you know who Robert Greene is? He's a writer. He wrote the 48 Laws of Power. Then he wrote the 50th Law. 50 Cent wrote it with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. It's some of his stuff's. Yeah, it's crazy. Very interesting.
I've heard good things about it.
He will talk about all the time how much it bothers him to hear people say, I'm just not from that type of family to where I would deserve that type of success, or I just don't feel like I'm as smart as this guy over here, so I'm not even going to try. And what bothers me more than anything, being in business, my athletic career crashed down way before yours did. So I've been fighting people to get paid for a long time. You have to use what you have where you are. And that's what David did. He didn't go, I've never fought with a sword. I'm gonna go learn how to use a sword in 5 minutes. And he knew what he knew, and he used what he had where he was. Yep. And there's a verse that I've always loved. I think it's in Isaiah. Many are called, few are chosen.
Yeah.
There's another verse in Isaiah where the voice of the Lord says, "Who will go?" And Isaiah says, "Here I am, send me." And I think a lot of the way that when you're an older, mature guy, that you learn who you are is when things do, like you've said, when things happen when you're young that are not fun, that you just automatically react, almost like you were created for that. Like created to get past that adversity, created to be able to absorb that hardship. And I think that we would all do ourselves a big favor if, instead of looking at these bad things that happened to us when we were young, we reshaped them and looked at them as, man, like I got a huge step up on my competition.
Yeah.
Because they had a full pantry.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that when you can change your mindset like that,
that's it.
It's crazy. You start seeing that things happen for you, not to you.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting. Are you the smallest guy in your family? The smallest brother?
I would say, yeah. Even my little brother, he's just a midget.
Was everyone giving you hell for that growing up?
That I was the smallest?
Yeah. Well, just like Smurf, or just caught,
I mean, yeah. In sports, I was always the smallest guy, shortest guy, but because of my mindset, and just like my mentality, I could hold my own wherever I was.
Hard to get up under you, man.
Yeah,
When you, I was watching highlights a couple weeks ago, and I was like, gosh. I don't, oh, see, I got to pull my mic closer. See? And I'm supposed to be the pro at this stuff. Yeah. Were there ever times when you were young where your dad was like, just come on, you're good. Don't worry about what they say. Just get out there and run them over. Or did you kind of take right to that?
Man, I had a really good support system. You know, no one looked at me as if, man, he's the undersized underdog guy. Everybody in my family, my support system was like encouraging me, uplifting me up. My dad, my grandmother. Since my dad worked so much, I lived most of the time of my childhood with my aunt and my grandmother. I spent a lot of time with them, who lived like, if my house was here, right behind my house or in front of my house was my grandmother, and then right behind my grandmother's house was my aunt's house. So we literally, we was latchkey kids. So my parents are away, they're working. I'm home or I'm staying with one of those. And then my grandmother, she would always tell me, so her favorite verse was in Psalms when it says, look up into the hills which come in your help. Your help comes from the Lord. And so she would tell me before a game, any obstacle that I faced, whether it was school and sports, but more specifically when I was in sports, because I was the smallest guy on the field. She would say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah.
And she would quote to me, she's like, Justin, anytime you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, or anytime that you're feeling doubt, look up into the hills which come in your help coming from the Lord. And that would always, because we had a relationship, again, she's taking me to my recitals, she's taking me to my football games, she's the church secretary, and I'm watching her, she's a school teacher, she's putting in the work, and I trust the words that she's pouring into me, and I'm receiving them as like, well, if grandmother said it, then it must be true. It must be real that I can go out there and conquer any giant.
Grandmas are special, man.
Yeah, so
they really are.
I had a great support system.
You found faith so early, and it obviously has played a big, role in making you who you are.
For sure.
You're very outspoken about it. I think you've got a podcast. What's the church podcast?
Oh, Founders Church.
Founders Church podcast.
Yeah.
Were there times in your life when things happened where you had that Jacob wrestle with God moment where you were like, you know what, man, why don't you come down here and explain? Did you ever question your faith? Did you ever wonder, is this real? Did you ever say, how could a loving God let something like this happen? Have you had struggles like that?
Wholeheartedly, a couple times. Right, I can remember vividly me going through high school, right, and going through my junior year, senior year, doing well, 2 state championships, breaking some records, number of touchdowns and yards, not getting any offers, and then out of nowhere, after my All-Star game my senior year, getting a scholarship offer from Notre Dame, and then a week before signing day, them calling and telling me they didn't need me anymore. I was heartbroken. I was crushed. I was a 17-year-old kid. I remember running down into my basement in Arlington, Texas, and crying my eyes out because I'm the guy that's putting in all the work. Football, after watching the Cowboys play on Sunday, I'm running. I'm going to the football field. My parents dropped me out to the football field. I'm running sprints by myself. Blood, sweat, and tears out there in the hot sun, just pushing myself to the limit.
Pretty serious self-starter.
Oh, yeah, because I knew what I wanted. And it was a combination of me running, chasing a dream, and me running from a nightmare.
Yeah.
And that fuel, just like, man, I got to do whatever it takes to get closer to my dream. So when I got into that moment, I was putting in all the blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm going to Bible study, and I'm going to church. I'm reading and praying every night.
Checking the boxes.
Doing everything, right, that I feel like I'm supposed to do as a good Christian or believer or follower of Christ. And I go down in the basement, and I remember I get down on my knees, and I'm crying. I'm crying profusely. Tears are flowing out of my eyes.
And they didn't even mail you anything.
No,
just
got a call.
You.
Yes, because we were supposed to take a recruiting visit, and I called. My parents called.
Catholics, bro.
And so I'm down there in that basement, and I have a come to Jesus moment. And I'm down there, and I say, God, you got to do something. Like, what is going on? I'm the one that's going to Bible study. I'm excelling at everything that I control. I'm working hard. I'm training hard. I'm going to Bible study. I'm reading my Bible every night.
Were
I'm
you a
praying
good
to you.
student?
I was a good student, 3.0 student, doing everything that I needed to do in order to have success. But this happens to me. And I said, God, you got to show me something. I'm speaking to him. Excuse me. And I'm speaking to him in a way that's more aggressive than I ever had before, because I'm in a crisis. I have more questions than I have answers. And I'm like, God, you got to show me something now. Like, I can't wait. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in my future. I'm watching everybody else get the blessings that I desire and that I've been praying for.
You were literally crying out
In the middle of my basement. And at that moment, only thing I knew to do was just pray. And I had my Bible open. And I said, God, you got to show me something. I just flipped the Bible. Like, God's honest truth. I just flipped it open. I said, God, you got to show me something. And as I flipped the Bible open, I just, split the Bible in between and just opened up the book and just laid it down on the ground. The Bible landed on Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. That's what I read out. As I read on Proverbs 3, and it got to 5 through 6, in which really spoke to me. It says, trust in the Lord God with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will direct your path. And at that very moment, as I'm reading those words in that passage in that basement, I feel a warming sensation come over my body. I feel as if, like, God is wrapping his arms around me in that moment and let me know, Justin, this is going to be okay. I got a plan and I got a purpose for you. And in that moment, I feel a peace come over me. Like, nothing in my situation at that time changed. Nothing. I still don't have a school to go to. I don't have a scholarship. I'm not going to Notre Dame. Nothing in that moment had changed, but on the inside, something had changed drastically. I had a peace, and I got up and I was like, I dusted myself off. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust you, God. I know that you got a plan for me. I know that something's going to work out. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go work as much as I can and keep excelling at what I can control, preparing, my attitude, effort, and things like that. And then a few months down the road, I get a scholarship offer from UC Berkeley. And that happened in signing days, February. I got a scholarship. I think I signed a letter of intent to Cal in May, which never happens.
Yeah, that's not the way it works.
No,
timing wise.
Spring game. They've played their spring game or in spring practice at that time, and somebody got hurt, and a scholarship opened.
Wow.
And the scholarship opened up, and they gave it to me.
I obviously way into rugby. I found that after the football didn't work out. Rugby's just a little different.
Yeah, for sure it is.
And I don't know if you know this, but do you know that Cal Berkeley is the preeminent? Okay, good.
Yeah, Coach Billups, all those guys.
Yeah, Tom Billups, Big Jack. Big Jack's kind of hard to get along with.
Yeah.
But create just an amazing heritage out there. Strawberry Hill, Strawberry Canyon, Whittier, right? Whittier Field,
yeah, sir.
Well, I've played on that field and gotten. Yeah, shown a little bit of a different level.
They're elite for sure.
Yeah, it's cool that their program thrives out there, because that was that's where Teddy Roosevelt in San Francisco in the 1920s watched rugby and said, "This is insane. We are changing this game, and we are going to establish the line of scrimmage," and that's how football was established. But I just didn't know if you guys out there knew about the rugby guys.
So much respect for them, because we see the work.
Yeah.
We said those guys, they work extremely hard.
Yeah.
What they were doing with the coaches, with Jag, Tom, what they were doing out there, that you would see insanity.
Yeah,
that's how they were training.
That anti-aerobic where it's 45 seconds all out, then a power lift. 45. I mean, you don't have any. There's no time to stop, and it's just a different game than football.
Yeah, and they looked the part too. I mean, you can tell a football player from a rugby player. Like, those guys were just jacked.
That's cool. When you were growing up, if you were growing up in Florida, were you like, I want to play? Like when you're playing in the backyard with your brothers, are Are you scoring touchdowns for Florida State, or are you Miami Hurricanes, or are you thinking of somebody in a different state? What are you thinking?
Florida State was my team.
Really?
My mom went to Florida State. That was the era of, Peter Warwick Dunn.
Remember Danny Cannell?
Danny Cannell.
Danny Cannell was a Nebraska guy or a Pennsylvania guy, and all I remembered was he could leg press like 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
And he would break the blood vessels in his. No, Danny Cannell was their quarterback.
Okay.
And I think he's on one of the networks now as a play caller. No, Dan Kendra. Like he was like your all-star.
Oh,
But
okay.
they were gonna play him like at quarterback and running back. It's
Okay.
yeah, it's interesting.
But that was my team.
There's Dan Kendra. Yeah, Dan Kendra was they said he was the strongest freshman ever at Florida State.
Wow.
And Florida State got him away from the Cornhuskers and from Penn State.
Okay.
And so everyone was just like, what, this guy, what? And then there was no internet then. So when you're a young athlete, you're reading about what guys are doing to work out. And we're
Yeah.
like, oh, so leg press is where it's at.
That was
so
everybody. Been doing the leg press.
Well, and then we're all like, well, leg press is actually rad because you look like you're really moving weight.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's nowhere near as hard as squatting.
squats. No.
It's not even in the same. It's not even in the same ballpark, man.
Yeah.
When you moved to Texas, what was the What was the reason for moving to Arlington?
So better opportunity for me to get to college. I grew up in a small
Was
town.
that the whole thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was a move for us as me and my younger brother. My older brother had moved out earlier to stay with some friends out here to go to the same school we went to.
So you like IMG'd it, but you went from Florida to Texas
essentially.
instead.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And my dad actually he had a job position. He was on staff at the Potter's House as an elder there, Bishop T.D. Jakes here locally, and so yeah, it just all worked out where we were going to a school and. Was hopefully going to get us in a better position where guys are going to go on to get to college because we didn't have a lot.
Whether you agree with everything that Bishop Jakes says or not, there's no way that you can listen to some of those Steve Harvey or Bishop Jakes motivational videos and not just be like, okay, show me something to run over now, man.
If he was a poet or a rapper, he would be one of the greatest of all time.
I mean, he's got this delivery.
Oh yeah, he's got bars.
He's got that. Yeah, he's got that John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr. Where you're just like, huh, there's something different right there.
For sure. He's got a gift.
Jumping around a little bit, but when did you realize that you wanted to jump up in front of people and tell them your story and tell them that more is possible and tell them that if they would push up against pain and failure and discomfort, they would find that on the other side of that are unbelievable benefits? Was there like a certain time when was that a college thing? Did you take like a public speaking class at Cal Berkeley?
No. And honestly, I would lie to get out of speaking opportunities.
Really? Were you pretty shy?
Oh, yeah. I was not trying to get up. That's probably one of the worst things you could ask me to do.
Do we think that's a real true statement that every single person's biggest fear in life is public speaking?
It's up there.
Yeah.
It is. I'm sure it's pretty up there. Maybe snakes.
Yeah, snakes, heights. Yeah, a mad wife.
All of that might be, up there competing. But honestly, it happened when I was a professional, when I was in the NFL. And my darkest moment in my career was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I wasn't playing. I was demoted. I had just signed a contract with them after being with the Seahawks for 4 years.
Who was starting?
Maurice Jones-Jr.
Yeah.
Maurice Jones-Jr. was a starter. I came in to be the he was just incredible talent.
Some of the guys you've played with,
I know,
are not like that. Resume alone is, that's awesome. The guys you get to be around. When you get a little older. How old are you now?
37.
So when you get to be even older, I wore a hat so you can see all the gray hair today. It's weird. I've started to see everyone I meet, whether I'm agreeing with them, whether they won't pay my bill, whether I think they're cool, whatever. If I see them as this person could possibly mentor me in some way, I could learn something from this person about how to live life. I don't even know what I don't even know. Was being around guys like some of the guys you played with, like we talked about Marshawn before we started shooting, were these things that you counted as major blessings in your life? Because you're looking at dudes who are just straight up legends, man.
Yeah. So how I talk about, now in my job and, presenting and giving keynote speeches, I talk about how to embrace adversity and reshape and reform how we think about trials in order to help us push closer towards our dream to reach peak performance, right? To use adversity as performance multipliers or community multipliers. But I think that same mindset has to go with competition. A lot of us are afraid of competition because of failure, again, because also of perception, and then also just like that comparing yourself against someone else is just like it's a draining process, right? And everybody wants to be number one, but not everybody can be number one. So what that did for me, I played with Hall of Famers. So Marshawn Lynch, Arian Foster, Maurice Jones-Drew, Edgerrin James, just a host of
Some
guys.
crazy receivers too.
Yeah, crazy receivers too that were also Hall of Famers. Andre Johnson, that was a Hall of Famer. Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, great Hall of Fame caliber guys. But when I think about me in my position as a running back, and what I share with people now, it's like I had to learn how to use those moments as not a point of where, because it's easy when you don't get the starting job, because I was always fighting to get the starting job, is it's like not to get down on yourself, not to get frustrated, disappointed, but use it as a tool to help you get better. And it's about shifting your mindset. So how do you, when you're in competition, how do you be Robin to a Batman and thrive? And I believe that it's about embracing adversity. It's about embracing competition, and it's about having a Batman's mentality in a Robin's uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know your role as a team and think that, okay, I got to do my job. My job right now, I'm not the starting running back. I'm not going to be in there every single down. But when they call on my name, I better be Batman.
When they would do fitness tests, things like that. I mean, this happened to me when I was young in my rugby career. I would come onto a team. Hey, we like the way you play, but we need that experience on the field this week. And I'd be like, yeah, but what about that tackle count? And then every time we would do fitness tests, I'd be like, so whoever wins this fitness test is starting, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yeah. And then that wouldn't happen. Were there times when you were like, I'm better?
Oh yeah. The thing again, I think how do we thrive when we're in competition, especially when we're robbing, is that you gotta believe that you're the best. You gotta believe. Like if I personally believe that when I went on the field, no matter who it was against, no matter if it was Marshawn Lynch, no matter if it was Edgerrin James, Arian Foster, Maurice Jones-Drew, I believed I was the best in that room, and I trained that way.
From an early age, did you talk to yourself?
Oh yeah.
When did that start?
I think early on, like even Pop Warner football.
Do you teach your kids that?
We haven't got to that point yet, but I think that's a valuable tool, lesson that I will share with them.
Bro, everyone I have on here, and I didn't even realize that was like a thing. Every single person that I asked that, and another question I'm going to ask you in a second. Oh yeah, talk to myself. I'm driving to work, and I'm like, today is the day. Let's go. Don't feel like it. Doesn't matter.
But see, that's the thing. I think every one of us talk to ourselves. It's the messaging that we're telling ourselves.
They did a study about how your subconscious can't recognize your voice. So if you go home, you've read the 4 Agreements, right? Pretty good short read. That book, the 4 Agreements. Really? That's a good book, man.
All right, check it out.
Yeah. We go home. If the first thing we're talking about to our old lady or our kids is, well, this employee showed up, didn't do his job, then this happened, then this was. Now, we do all need a place for catharsis and to talk through things if we're frustrated. But our subconscious there's words that are being collected by our ears and then that are being conceptualized. There are words. Our subconscious doesn't even realize we said them. So when you say a negative word out, you're actually getting it back twice. It's crazy, right?
Man.
Have you seen that stuff that Ryan Leaf put out about that positivity coach that helped Russ, who passed away?
Yes, I just recently saw that. I don't know if it was on Instagram or.
I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started that book. Whoa.
Yeah.
I threw it up on Audible. Man.
Yeah, nah.
No room.
No room for it. That's what you're talking
about.
about.
No negative. Never. Not ever one time. If it comes in, no. See ya. It's a very interesting concept.
Yeah. I would love to dive deeper in there because I feel like we live in such a negative world. We live in such
what gets the clicks,
in the
man.
news.
I know it.
Whatever, even on social media, it's been fed into us. So I don't know how you not getting any of that negativity in. But I think it's equally important that we're reinforcing the positive thoughts and the positive affirmations to counteract those things that we're getting on a daily basis, and we got to watch what we're listening to.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you've got whatever the main news channel of your liking is, if it's on TV, it's all it is a vehicle for advertising.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So let's not be so dumb.
Yeah.
They want you to buy beer, and trucks, and
I want you to buy hygiene products.
You want to buy, yes. I want you to buy construction products,
yes.
And they want you to buy a drug for every possible problem you might have. I like watching Dateline.
Oh yeah,
my old lady got me into that, which is just ridiculous. We're watching murder for 2 hours. It is ridiculous. Right. Man, during a Dateline, so that's got an older demographic. You'll watch a 1 hour Dateline. There will be 5 dude. Different pharmaceutical companies, different prescriptions, all for the same malady. 5 different ones for skin issues.
Man.
So, like, what you do allow into your eyes, into your ears, into your mouth, into your heart, that's all up to you. You know, we're way more powerful than we think we are. Our little choices and decisions that, I don't even know what I ate this week. Well, maybe that's why you're not the shape you want to be, man.
Yeah.
Like, keep track of it.
Right.
Be intentional.
Yeah.
When Ryan, so I started off at Washington State. So that's that's where I want. Yeah. See, did you guys go in there?
Of course.
Pull out some big wins.
Of course.
Yeah. Damn it. Who was your quarterback when you were an upperclassman?
So of course we had Aaron Rodgers the freshman year, but then we went Nate Longshore, and we had Joe Ayuk, Kevin Riley at the end. So that was kind of the issue. We didn't have consistency.
Who was Wazoo throwing out? That was like the Jason Gesser years.
It was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He took the Cougs to the Holiday Bowl and beat Texas.
He was good.
Yeah, he's great. He was a great quarterback.
Yeah. Some good receivers. Michael Bumpus. We had some running back.
Memory.
Man, I'm trying to think of one of the running backs' names, but also you had Abdullahs on defense, I want to say.
Bro, totally. Were the Trufants playing when you were playing?
He was before me.
The older one or the younger?
Marcus Trufant. Marcus Trufant went to.
You're right.
Washington State.
Younger. Yeah, that was a bummer for all of us.
Yeah, he went to UW.
Ridiculous. that damn Lake Stadium gets them all. They don't understand the charm of the Palouse, man. When you get out there in those rolling wheat fields, and nobody gives it a chance.
It's that landing. You can't land in Moscow. You got to go to a different airport, man.
You got to go
Moscow.
You got to land in Spokane and drive 90 minutes to get to Pullman.
If you want to keep a recruit.
We thought when we finally got game day, there was that last year, the year before, there was the Gardner Minshew year.
Oh yeah.
That was the holy grail.
Yeah.
Was college football everything that you thought it would be, hoped it would be, or did it let you down a little bit, or did you have to grow up and get maybe some of the naivety, busted out of you, where you think, this is all about team, but then when you get up in there, you realize, well, yeah, they gave me a scholarship, but they're making some money off of this deal here.
Yeah, for sure. No, I kept football, I want to say, in its rightful position. It was great years for me, of course, but I just had to overcome a lot again. Just being being underdog, undervalued, unappreciated for most of that time. And again, being Robin to Batman, with Marshawn Lynch, who's a local guy from Oakland, there for 3 years, which was great. I got an opportunity, and he made sure that I would always get an opportunity on the field. And then my senior year, I was the guy. But even then, when I got the job and I was the guy, there was another younger running back coming up out at the time, a freshman, true freshman, not job at best. That was like, again, he's the next week. And he was phenomenal. He was as advertised, but it was just still trying to hold off. Like, man, will I get my time to shine?
What were you weakest? What skill was your weakest skill when you made that jump from? Because it was Texas Tap's 4A, right?
Yeah.
I mean, still very high level football. I mean, It is. A lot of those TAP schools can beat the 5A schools around here.
We got some. I want to say those that are, the Bishop Lynches of the world.
ESD beats people, right?
ESD
Episcopal.
Oh yeah, for
Dallas.
sure. Like, it depends on what sport. Because TAPs is really hard to have numbers, especially compared to like
Fort
some of those 5A.
Basketball teams won a bunch of championships.
Yeah, Grace Prep, we won a bunch of basketball championships. And beat a lot of public. We were ranked in the country as top 10.
That's
team.
awesome.
So yeah, we could compete. But yeah, I just say that's my weakness. My weak point was probably straight line speed. I wasn't ever the fastest.
Okay, but you could pick up a third down block.
Oh yeah, so that was my strongest part of my game.
Yeah, because
pass protected.
Is that a mindset thing, kind of like playing defense in the NBA?
Yeah. So yeah, that is. Wholeheartedly, it's a mindset. It's a want to.
Yeah.
And because, again, every time that I was so focused in on, like, getting to that next level, getting to the NFL, I wasn't going to let anything stand in my way. I wasn't going to let school, girls, a linebacker, or whatever. I was going to be my mindset was I was going to get it by any means necessary. So when you put a linebacker, I don't care how big he was.
If it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Man, I'm going to. It is.
Was Will Dirting? Was he playing middle linebacker for Washington State when you were there?
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He might have been.
Yeah, I think he was during that time period. It's hard to keep it all straight.
I know, it was a long time ago. It was like but for a linebacker in that mindset. Pass protecting.
He's coming to blow you
Especially
up.
When you see me on the other side, I'm all of 5'8", 190 pounds.
People do not understand that low man wins.
It's the leverage.
They don't understand. Like, you can say that to people who don't play, and it's like you're speaking a foreign language to them.
But on the other side, it's again, do you know that this guy on the other side, he's probably 6'3", maybe 6'2", 240 pounds, 220 pounds, or whatever. And he's coming full speed.
20-yard head start
going straight down the A-gap. And you got to meet him. And you just know that this is going to be a violent collision. You know that it is going to be loud. It is going to be physical. It is going to be violent. And you know that this is going to happen often throughout the game.
Now, I know you're a man of faith, but are you behind that? You behind that face mask just going, let's motherfucking go.
I told you, I like the mindset of David. Like, I'm attacking.
Do you think that David was like, bless your heart? Bless your heart, Goliath.
No.
It said he went down to the brook and he chose 5 smooth stones, man.
But
that's a rad story.
It's a crazy story. And you think about him even before him, what he was doing before that prepared him for giant.
Well, they used to put the daughters, the youngest, the weakest. They were always the shepherds. That was back then. That was, and it's once again, if faith plays a part, or I've been raised with it. I've wrestled with it. I don't. There's parts about it I still research, and I still, when Jacob wrestled with God on the shores of that river.
Yeah.
If you take the Greek and you translate it, it says that he prevailed. He won. He would not let whatever this was go until he got his new name.
Yeah.
and he walked away Israel, and he limped for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know, man.
That is very, because I've been very drawn to that story as of late, and with
Me too.
With Jacob, and then it's like as you wrestle with God in that mindset of Jacob, just like, God, I will not let go of you until you bless me.
Bless me.
And so many times in our life when we're wrestling with things and we're trying to, well, especially when you're a man or woman of faith and you're just like, God, like, what's going on? Like, things are not going the way I thought they would. I'm not in the position that I thought I would be in at the time. I'm not that as far as I thought I would be in my career, my relationship, my marriage, my job. None of these things are working out. In those times is when we got to hold on to God the tightest and the strongest. Like, we can't, a lot of times when we face opposition, we tend to isolate ourselves and try to pull back from our faith.
Sure.
But with the story of what I love about Jacob, and like when he's wrestling with him, he's so hungry and so thirsty.
Oh, I think he laid hands on first.
Yeah, like
too. Like there's a couple of, I mean, if you read some of the accompanying documentation about the story, I don't think he waited.
Yeah, he just.
I think he was like, "What's up?"
It's like, God, go right to God. And
man, that's a big moon. We got good light. Let's throw down.
Let's go.
Yeah, I love that story too. I went and saw Jordan Peterson, who's got some interesting viewpoints, a couple weeks ago over at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, and he told that story, which is that's my favorite story in the Bible. And I was like, "Yo, all right, let's do it. Yeah. That's great." That's awesome. The faith thing is an interesting one, man, because we live in these times where everything's commercialized. Everything is a business.
Sure.
Everyone's got a grift. You and I are businessmen. Yeah. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on. Is because you're so driven and ambitious and smart and real clever and resourceful.
Thank you.
You know, when you see that the motives aren't pure. Do you want to be Jesus going through overturning
the tables,
turning over the money changers? Are you more of a I don't like what I'm seeing, so I'm going to be the change? Are you what do you see there? Because the mega church, the prosperity gospel, the I got to be wearing my $3,000 suit to church, or we got to be so cool for everyone. If we want to get them into, we got to wear our shell necklace and our $400 Jordans, and you know what I mean. It's just whatever. Are there things about what you see that bother you?
Oh, for sure. There's a lot of things that I see that bother me. That is going on within the church. I think that I have to be careful in not, how could I put it? How can I not put the flaws of man onto the flaws of God? Like putting those things like, man, these are at the end of the day, after me I grew up in the church as a pastor's kid, knowing that, you know, these are men that are trying to serve the people, but they are also men at the end of the day that struggle with sin. I think a lot of times we uphold and put these pastors and these leaders in the church in a position.
Preach, man.
Where we forget that they are human and that they're wrestling with life just like we're wrestling now. Are they in a position where they will be judged greater and they have more responsibility within the church? I believe it wholeheartedly. Like they're held to a higher standard, right? They gotta be careful about what they get themselves into, how they act and respond to things, and they're called to, you know, just be more. I don't want to say hands on, but like they got a lot of responsibilities. So I hold that position. Like people ask me, man, would you ever think about being a pastor? I was just like, man, the responsibility and the weight of that. Yeah. Like I respect it too much of what God has called. That is like a calling from God above, and the weight of it, I just like, man, God, you would have to really open my eyes and kind of throw me in the belly of a fish in order to get me into that position, because I hold it. But what I would say is that we live in a world that also we're looking for negativity, and what is negative will be glorified and will be exposed and get the most attention. There are countless churches that are, whether that's in the United States or abroad, that are doing really good works, right, that are being hands and feet of Jesus and really serving the people and not getting paid. Majority of the church population, the faith population, is like they don't have like this Western culture of like affluence of like people are struggling out there. People are like trying to have clean water. Like I work with an organization called Water Mission where 2.2 billion individuals still lack access to clean water.
Is Water Mission the guy, the SEAL that created the that's from here, that created where he's pulling in humidity and turning that into pure water?
Nah. This is this group puts in well systems into communities.
Do you know Justin Wren?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But
the big pygmy. He was a UFC guy.
Oh no.
He does the same thing.
But it's I mean you think about
good for you.
You
awesome.
Thank you. But you think about like there are a lot of people out there that are, like the poorest people here in America.
Actual real problems.
Yeah. And they're not walking around in $400 Jordans or whatever. And
shirtless, showing their dick rude, like trying to be, just get out of here.
And for me, I'm not into, I like if that's what you do, God is going to have to judge you. I don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. And what I try to do on your thought was that I feel like it's more of our jobs to be the church, more onus on the individual. When I see that, I was just like, man, that's an opportunity. Like I got to be able to, like how I live my life in my community and my family, I got to reflect the Jesus of like what I see in the Bible, the guy that was a lion and a lamb. That was a servant to his people, that was selfless, that was humble. Like I have to exude those.
But he did, but he had human tendencies too. He lost that translated passage where he overturns the tables.
Yeah.
He lost his temper.
Well,
righteous indignation.
Righteous indignation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I love just like Jesus and like how I see him in the Bible is like it talks about he is a God that empathizes with what we go through because he had to go through a lot of the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis. So it's not like we're praying to a God that doesn't understand, right? When he hears us crying, it's like, God, this weight is heavy. He's like, I know.
When you encounter hurting people, I'm sure you do. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that people notice you when you're out and they're probably like, who is this guy? Or if you're a church and you got your 5 kids, I mean, that's awesome. That is so cool. I want to talk about that fatherhood thing in a minute. When they say to you, I just don't buy it, Forsett, I don't get it. How would a loving God let this happen? How would a loving God let this happen? What do you tell people like that if that's their argument to you?
I feel like it all comes out with what we believe is the fall of man. It's just like we live in a sinful world. And there was once a time in which, everything was fine and dandy and perfect in the garden.
Frickin' Eve, dude.
But we are now in a fallen world where the rain falls on the just and the unjust. Yeah. So whether you believe in God or not, adversity is coming. That is consistent through trials.
Like Dion says, you better watch out. She's looking to see if you got that black card.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
There's so many like
Eve's walking around with shiny apples, going, "Look what I got." But then she got everybody. She got everybody got.
But then also the accountability of her headship and her man in Adam, and it's like
take some leadership.
Some leadership.
What's that like for you living in a real world as a minority business owner who played a very I mean, the NFL owns a day of the week. They own the holy day, which is kind of an interesting, odd dichotomy there.
Sure.
What's it like for you when you get up in the morning every day? Do you think to yourself, today because you have kids, today I'm out here to set an example, or are you so just too inspired to be tired? You've just got so many goals and things going in your mind that you're just excited every morning, even if you've got legal shit to square away with the business or an HR headache. How is that for you in the mornings?
Man, I'm one of these speakers that I try to be as open and transparent as possible, because that's how I live my life. Like I believe that true healing comes from the word of our testimony and the things that we can be vulnerable and transparent with. And every morning I wake up with a level of gratitude is where I like to start. Just by starting, just like allowing God to have my downtime and meditation time. It's like, God, I'm just grateful for at least 20 things I count off.
20 really?
Things, yeah, 20 things that I'm
like. Do you remember part of what you said this morning?
Oh, for sure.
What are some of your 20 from today?
So,
like, you're getting all the way down to like the blue sky that we didn't actually get a tornado last night.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, are you thinking of anything and everything?
Yeah. So I'm grateful for my wife and my kids. I'm grateful for this new partnership I just got with Orange Theory for my business.
Really? Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. I'm grateful for friendship. I'm grateful for God's faithfulness. I'm grateful for God's word. Was from this morning. I'm grateful for my partnership with my business partner. I'm grateful for being able to coach my kids.
I love it.
So there's a number of things that I just flow through. Like, I'm grateful to have the freedoms that I have to live in this country, in this neighborhood that I live in. That I'm just like, I give to God to just like, before I ask God for anything else for today, because I'm very transparent. I as an entrepreneur, I as a husband, I as a father, I struggle. No, I'm not one of these speakers that go on the stage and say, "Hey, man,
glad
this is
you
what
said
I've
that,
learned."
because if you didn't, I was just going to get up and leave. I've always thought somebody like you, somebody famous, should get on a stage sometime when it's a bunch of young, especially dude entrepreneurs, and go, "Hey, yeah, so if you're ready to sell 10x, if you're ready to scale, if you're ready to buy 90 cars with all your profits and write them all off, if you're ready to build your watch collection." There's the door.
Yeah.
This is for the rest of you guys. We're going to talk about the real, because the guru thing, man, around here, people drawing people in with hopes and dreams and not delivering, not telling people that, look, it's there's success to be had, but you had better be callousing your mind and body, just like you're playing in the league, because the hits are coming all day, every day, and from places you never even expect.
For sure. So I like to be transparent in that, and just letting people know that, man, some days I suck. Some days I'm struggling to get through. And that's okay. Because anybody that's accomplished anything great, they had to overcome moments of where they felt like they sucked. They had to overcome moments when they were suffering and struggling, and didn't feel like maybe they had imposter syndrome, and feel like they didn't belong, or didn't feel like they were performing efficiently with their business or with their resources. So I that's why I start the day with gratefulness, because I realized that I didn't have to be here. I didn't have to make it here. I didn't have to wake up this morning. Yeah. There was a Sports Illustrated article that came up a few weeks ago that said 50 players or 40 players under 50 have died from the NFL in the last 2 years, from a wide-ranging disease, or maybe it's drug related, or whatever it is. But that's the count, right? Wow. And I'm losing more. I'm starting to see people that I know and have worked with, teammates, die around me. So I'm extremely grateful just to have life in my body. And as an entrepreneur, when I'm going through tough times where payroll is tough to make, or
those are fun on Fridays, right, bro? I'm like, are we dipping? Am I dipping into the 401k this week, or how are we doing this?
Those are real things. Those are real struggles. Like, or am I going to let somebody go that's been working with me from day one? Like, those are real things that you're going to have to overcome. So I like to start with a level of just like, man, I'm telling you, my business partner, that I'm just grateful that we are alive. Like, let's just, like, all the other great things that we're doing, whether it's the Orange Theory partnership or we just launched an REI, all those things are really great things. But there are a lot of businesses that can't say they've been around for over 10 years.
Yeah, you were putting up Sohail. If you'll look on Justin's Instagram, was that ad about your company that you said, I just shot this last week, but it was from 10 years ago?
Oh,
when you were running cones, or was that was
just a throwback video? So that was that video of me doing a commercial, my first commercial ever with. It was with the Seattle Seahawks. It was for an ultrasound commercial. and it was a powerful. So it was a flashback. I was joking because I don't look like that anymore.
Yeah.
My body is not like that. So
I don't know who you told. You said, look at that complexion. That's the first thing you notice when you start getting older. You're like,
Right.
man, I didn't realize lotion was going to be necessary.
Bro.
Just all these things.
Hey man, it is very real. So
yeah, it is what it is. The body
there
does
is.
what the body's gonna do. Yeah, that's the one right there. That was funny, dude. I laughed at that.
Yeah.
I shot this yesterday. I actually believed it for a second. I was
Really?
like, are you? Gosh,
I do not
dang.
look like that right now. You know, I wish I did.
I got to get with your TRT guy because
Yeah,
that's where it's at.
That's pretty cool.
What's the hardest you've ever been hit? Who hit you the hardest you've ever been hit? Anyway, at any level, because the hardest I've ever been hit was not in the highest level I ever played.
Yeah, I would say, Jonathan.
Some Midwest Kansas son of a bitch.
No, I would say I don't remember his name, but it was a defensive lineman from the San Diego Chargers at the time. It was San Diego, and I was playing in Baltimore. And it was maybe 2015, so later in my career, so maybe year 8. And I am just running, and I don't see it coming. And I'm cutting back, so I'm going against the grain. So my velocity meets his velocity, and I don't see him. And I just like, whack. And I'm just like.
And you were a cutback. When you cut back, you got smaller. So a lot of guys, when they cut back, get a little bigger because they extend. When you cut back, I think made you harder to guard.
I'm hiding too.
Yeah, it's man. I bet that was I bet you felt that one for a minute.
Oh man, yeah. I laid on the ground and just like, whoa. Do I want to keep doing this?
Really?
Yeah. It was.
So what year is that? That's
year 8.
that's toward the end.
Yeah, that's towards the end. Yeah, that's towards the end.
When you were, growing up, would your dad point out like that's Jim Brown? Watch how he gets up from every. Remember Jim Brown would
of course.
always
Yeah,
get
always
up
get up.
slow.
Yeah.
I mean Jim Brown. Jeez.
I mean, he's just. I got a chance to meet him once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did his hand come to like your elbow? Right? Isn't that?
Yeah. He's. Just amazing figure for.
He's awesome.
Position in the NFL. But my dad, we were Emmitt Smith. We were Cowboys guys because I love the Cowboys
Really?
because he loved the Cowboys.
Okay.
So Emmitt Smith was the guy. So we were just like watching and studying him on a Sunday afternoon, opposed to anyone else. But I was a Barry Sanders guy personally. That was my favorite running back, and then there's Emmitt. But I was a Cowboys fan, so I was always cheering, and so that's what we looked at and it's kind of model like. Even if you see Emmitt Smith's toughness and his durability over the course of the year, it's like I remember his shoulder, the game where he sprained his shoulder, or dislocated
Giants,
his shoulder,
right?
against the Giants, and watching him, and even that mindset, which I tell I was told my dad would tell you never take yourself out of the game.
Ooh, lot of helmet tapping these days.
Oh man, and I think some of that is valid today because. We played through some things that we probably shouldn't have played through.
Yeah.
And even
how many concussions you think you came out clean with?
I was never diagnosed with a concussion, so I never had.
That was when they weren't
exactly.
Right.
They weren't really keeping track of. That wasn't a thing, right? But there were. I can name at least 3 moments throughout my career in which there was like my equilibrium was off. I got hit.
Did you know where you were?
I always knew where I was.
Really? Okay, good.
But it was just like I need to come back to my senses. It was almost like I don't know if you ever played a fighting game before, and like you have to toggle. There's a circle in the middle.
I know
of
what you're talking about.
and you got to try to make sure that's
you got to like dial it back in,
get it back into the middle. So you can. It was that like my eyes and my mind had to come back to this moment of like centeredness.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like out of it. And I was present, and I knew I was like, "Oh shoot, I gotta shake this out." Like I'm in it. Like I just experienced something that's got me kind of bewildered right now. And I would lay down. I got it, whether it was a knee to the helmet or even a head to the ground.
Because a lot of times if you do get just absolutely rocked, you're actually not in pain.
Yeah, no.
But you're you know, you know something's wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a concussion, my dude.
Yeah. No. For sure, that was a concussion, but I was never out. Like I was never like stretched out, so no one ever had the point to where, oh, Justin, you got to get him out of the game.
Right.
Like that wasn't even a thing.
And there's the whole thing of being tough. You know, you don't
exactly.
even
That's what I'm saying. Like those
pour
things,
some
like,
water on it.
No tapping out.
Yeah.
And I think there's a level of that still needs to be had today. It's just like not taking yourself out, but there's also a level of responsibility. And I know it's a thin line of responsibility and knowing when, okay, I've pushed myself to the nth degree, and it's probably smart. I'm actually doing more harm than good by staying in.
Yeah,
and being able to know that.
You like
line.
sports documentaries?
Yeah, sure.
You seem like you're way too busy to watch content. To me. I feel sometimes when I tell people, "Hey, I watch this. You should watch it." I don't watch TV. I feel very. I feel very indirectly judged. I'm like, well, I was watching this one about hockey fighters. This guy Bob Prost, and he was a pretty crazy guy. And he ended up dying in his early 50s because they didn't realize he had a brain hemorrhage. He's leaned over the side of his boat trying to fix it. He had some problems with drugs. I mean, he was those hockey fighters are. Oh yeah, that's a tough life.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, when you were in the league, the Bennett Amalu story came out. The Will Smith movie came out. The importance of and the dangers of head trauma started to come to the fore.
Yep.
And you have a lot of the old school guys who will be like, nah, I mean, man, the videos that used to get promo.
Oh, yeah. Jacked Up was a segment.
Ronnie Lott
cutting
his own finger off because he hit somebody so hard. Got his finger in between two helmets. It cut his finger, and they don't sell those anymore.
No.
It's a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
I want to run this. I want to run a couple ideas by you. So in rugby, we don't wear helmets.
Yeah.
There are no helmets. There are some guys who wear scrum caps. But that's to keep your ears from getting ripped off in the scrum. That's really all it's for.
Yeah.
You cannot tackle someone without arms. You have to tackle and wrap. Yep. So the Pete Carroll alligator, comes from rugby, and it's effective.
Yep.
It doesn't get maybe the oohs and the ahs of a DB, getting 20 yards on somebody and just, turning into a missile.
Yeah.
But I think that would really improve tackle accuracy. And it would also get defenders' heads on the other side of the hip.
Yeah.
So when a runner is running at you, I'm usually probably not even going to try to square straight up on you. I'm going to try to get an angle, but I try to put my head to the outside of your hip and then block your entire mass with my shoulder instead of my neck and head.
Yep.
So if you removed helmets, that's never going to happen because moms don't understand that would actually make it safer. But if you just forced wrapping in tackles, why isn't that a rule? Wrap in every tackle. If you don't wrap up in the tackle, it's a penalty. It's a 15-yard unsportsmanlike.
I mean, I think it's they could, but I think it's hard. It's really hard for defensive players these days, especially the way we're in traffic sometimes, and the holes are very small, and where sometimes it is like you got
room.
You got a room. You got to kind of maybe torpedo yourself in shoulder, and the guys are getting so much faster and athletic these days that even to square somebody up to get in a position to take that angle to the right.
I mean, how do you explain Aiden Hutchinson? I mean, just
again, you got
nobody eats Wheaties. Everybody's eating Joe Rogan elk for breakfast now, and they're all just ridiculous.
Yeah. So I mean, when you get guys at 6'4", 300 pounds running 4.5 40s, it is just like the athlete is becoming more, more of a weapon when they're on that field.
It's just that a lot of guys just go to turn into a speed bump. You cannot hit a guy as hard if you have to wrap him. It's not possible. I mean, you're opening all your vitals up. If you can just close it all down and just shoulder somebody, you can really.
Because my inclination is when I'm running with the ball in my hand,
You're getting as.
I'm getting the low and small
Absolutely.
as possible.
Absolutely.
And that means my helmet's going to come down.
Right.
And if my helmet comes down and you're up trying to wrap up around me,
Right.
then you're probably going to get ran over, or you're going to probably
A
get hurt
broken
yourself.
sternum.
Yeah, something like that is possible. So I think it's really hard. I don't think football is going to look the same 20 years from now than what we.
I hope it still exists, man. I think it's a concern. I think it's such an important sport. I think that having to do hard, dangerous things that other people don't do, and I think young boys, young men learning that being brave is badass, because it is important, and hopefully we can quit going to crazy wars that no one even understands about. That's kind of what sports are supposed to sort of replace. I hope it's still around. I think there's ways to minimize the risk. Like, have you seen the guys who wear the collars now?
Oh, yeah.
Those are the what are they? They're the woodpecker collars. They're just trying to it's filling your entire head back up with pressurizing blood into that, so that if you do get an impact, your brain doesn't rattle around. Wasn't Kuechly the first guy to wear that when it first came out?
Maybe. I know he had a couple concussions, so he probably was.
Yeah, he had to hang it up way too soon,
he was
too.
Gifted, one of the best linebackers I've faced.
He was very awesome, very good guy from all accounts
Great guy.
as well.
Great guy.
Is the you were telling a story, and then I'll ask you about the NFL fraternity. But you said you're in Jacksonville. You're down. You're bummed. You're backing up Maurice Jones-Drew, UCLA great. Did you play against him in college?
I sure did. Yeah, he's one of my best friends. Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is he still working on NFL Network?
He is. Yeah, he is.
Wow.
Staple.
He's been able to. That's awesome that they haven't found a reason to fake fire him like everybody else. I'm having
good.
Heath. You know who Heath Evans is?
Yeah, I know Heath.
Heath is a good dude. He's coming on in a couple of weeks, but Heath will get after it with the scriptures.
Oh,
if,
No,
you better watch out.
For sure. He's a big guy too.
What were you going through?
Yeah, man, it was just a point where, on that field, I didn't feel appreciated. That was at the lowest point. Didn't feel valued. I wasn't getting playing time.
Now you're assertive, and I don't know where that came from. I think it, just observing, probably from the resourcefulness you had to develop. But are you going to coaches and being like, "Hey, I want to know what it'll take to get on this field"?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not going to Tanya Harding anybody.
No.
But I'll get close by any means necessary. It's your motto.
Just let me know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that, and I believe that was part of the spiritual journey, and that was part of the hardship that I needed in order for my personal growth, right? Both personal and spiritual growth during that time, because football had become an idol. Football had been football. I didn't own football. Football owned me. And I was a perfectionist, so I carried work home. So anytime that I made a mistake in practice, it could be a small thing as I didn't go the right way on a route, or
So you kind of OCD a little bit?
I am, to a degree in which it would keep me up at night. I would wake up out of sleep thinking about, man, I should have held the ball tighter. I should have put two hands around the ball. I should have went this way instead of that way.
Would you obsess over film and stuff?
So I wouldn't say obsess over, but I would definitely watch to see how I could get better.
Are you the type of guy who's like, show me my worst plays first?
No, not necessarily. I hated to see myself make a mistake.
Yeah.
Because I was such a perfectionist. So it was really hard for me to see some of my worst mistakes on the football field, because I had a standard. And that's the reason why I stayed for as long as I did, 9 years, is because
there's got to be something about your obviously your athletic ability, but then your ability to adapt.
Oh yeah.
And your ability to be coachable.
For sure.
So if you're going to go into another program, they're looking at the abilities you can bring to the table. They're looking at the offense they want to run, and does this guy have the bandwidth to be able to roll with some punches and change up his game a little bit?
Yeah. It was funny because you mentioned that one of my running back coach. I was in the running back room one time. We have a stacked in the running back room, and some amazing players.
Who's in there?
In the room? Marshawn Lynch is in there. Leon Washington is in there. Michael Robinson that was in there at the time. We had a couple other young guys that was in there, but it's just a very talented.
Nobody
room.
head blocks harder than Michael Robinson.
I know, right?
My
God. He was as a fullback.
Good night,
man. Yeah,
awesome player.
But during that time, like the coach would go around the room. He went. I'll never forget this time. Coach would go around the room and say, "Hey, I'm gonna let you guys know your greatest strengths and why you are still here. Your best ability." And I don't know what brought this on, right? And but he would go to our room and it's your superpowers. It's like, he goes to Marshawn Lynch. He's talking about all of his superpowers and his power he can score at any given time. And then Leon Washington and his speed and his quickness and that he can make plays on a drop of a hat, whether it's on the return game or in the backfield. Michael Robinson, you can go up there and nobody's blocking as hard as you. Nobody brings him on as force.
No one's as crazy as you, Mike. Yeah. No one is. No one's trying to be either, dude. Yeah.
And then he gets to me and he says, Justin, you are just dependable. I can always count on you and trust on you to be in the right spot, in the right place, in the right time. And as I'm listening to that and I'm processing that as a young player, thinking like, what? Why am I getting like, everybody else got these cool superpowers, but I got the dependable.
You got like the Boy Scout award.
Yeah,
you got the dependable patch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? But what I learned is that was probably the greatest compliment that I could have gotten or could get in a organization or in a team format. Because at the NFL level, everybody's talented, right? And I knew that I was gifted. I knew that if you get to a certain level, whether it's business or sports, like you get to a certain level of achievement, then you're pretty gifted or talented at some degree, some capacity. But not everybody works the same. Not everybody is dependable. Not everybody is consistent, right, on that work ethic. It's okay. Like, there are a lot of people that are great for a day. There are a lot of people that are great for a game. There are a lot of people that are great for a quarter. But for somebody to come in and day out and be consistent, that's a whole nother level. That's something to be prideful about, like, and be proud of.
It is.
That, like, coach saw something in me or leadership saw something in me that, man, this guy is more than just a talent on the field that you can go out and make plays, but this guy is somebody that I trust with the keys to this organization.
Did you take into business realms, and do you tell people when you hire them, look, you got all the tangibles, you seem like you can talk the game, you seem like you're going to be great at sales or whatever job I'm bringing you in for, you seem talented, you seem energetic, you're saying all the right things, but dependability and availability are the best abilities.
Yes.
And if you can't play on Sundays, and if you don't pick up that third down block, we got no, like, sometimes that's what we are.
Yep.
Sometimes actually those are the legends.
Yep.
The guys who are making the crazy catches, but bad routes than good routes, teammates see that stuff.
Yeah.
Teammates see the tap the helmet. Teammates see the missing the block and getting your quarterback destroyed.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean, man, because basketball was my first love.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a Sean Kemp.
Okay.
Absolute.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Vin Baker, Gary Payton.
Bro. Let's
Deck
go.
the Shrimp.
Nate McMillan.
Nate McMillan, yeah.
Man, Xavier McDaniel. Like,
Yeah.
no
Come
one's
on now.
more intense than that guy.
Yeah.
I would go to basketball camps, and I mean, I'm diving into the third row. I didn't know what rugby was, but I was playing basketball like rugby.
Rugby player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not the greatest athlete. Always win the Mr. Hustle, and I would always get made fun of for that. And I would always just be like, well, I mean, I'll take that all day, every day over most improved.
Yeah.
And I'll take that all day, every day over camper of the camp too. Did you do the football camp thing? And what's that like? Where there's people there, they're watching, and as you start getting older and you move to Arlington, you're junior, senior, or your coach telling you like, hey, we got people here watching you from North Texas, like were there like little trash, like you don't want to say that, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
schools that you weren't that interested in, and you were just like, well, what about? I mean, you wanted Florida State.
Yeah.
After that, was there another, like when you moved here, were you like UT,
Man.
bro?
UT, TCU, A&M. I would have went to any school literally if it was, you know, a D1 scholarship. I just wanted an opportunity at the end of the day. We didn't have like those camp programs like in my community. One of the reasons why
That's big
I
here
had to
though,
leave.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. Like, you know, camps. You know, we didn't have that. Right. The only thing we had was our Pop Warner Football League,
Yeah.
and that was it. So, but there were scouts that would come in, and we would know because I had other players. I wasn't, you know, technically the best player on my.
Best player on your team when you were junior and senior.
So there was a guy receiver named Lance Leggett, who was a number 4 receiver in the country at the time. It was a top 100 player.
How do they come up with those rankings?
I don't know.
Are you guys rushing to those magazines? Because that wasn't a thing when I was playing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
It was a thing. Rivals was a thing. Like, you going online and you're seeing, all right, who's the best,
Yeah.
the best, who you competing against, who's getting
Right.
scholarship offers. So we had people come and watching us practice and play our games. And, you know, anytime I embraced that because anytime I felt like I could showcase my ability, I felt like at my peak performance.
Especially
like
if
that.
you are playing a game and there's a guy who's like 10 notches above you per some magazine.
Yeah.
So are you faith?
Mhm.
It's not like it's this weird thing. We can say that it's cool that the goats always walked around with chips on their shoulders.
Yeah, yeah.
It made them the goats. Brady, whoever. Muhammad Ali wasn't. He wasn't handing out hugs, man.
Yeah.
But then in life, we're just supposed to kind of forgive and let the just sort of let it roll off your back and accept it and accept the things.
Yeah.
Are you're a very competitive guy. You're in competitive business now. Do
Sure.
you walk around with a chip on your shoulder?
For sure.
That's awesome.
Just because I'm a man of faith doesn't mean, again, that I'm not human, right? And that rejection is hurtful. It doesn't make me feel good that somebody says
Right.
you're not worthy, you don't have a company that's worth investment, or your product sucks, or those things don't feel good to me hearing that.
Did you ever you're going to a camp or you're going to play like a select game like senior bowl or Army Navy and you don't get picked on the team that you want? Did you ever cut that out with like the guy who got picked over you and like put it on your bathroom mirror or anything like that?
I didn't
like
do that.
Rocky and Drago?
No, I didn't do that, but there were times.
Oh man,
in
I
which-
think I'm more vindictive than next guy.
But I did
bro.
keep some of my pink slips that I got from NFL teams. Like I got when the Ravens cut me, I had that termination letter.
Where'd you put it?
I just put it up in my my store. So anytime you left a team, you got like a garbage bag, and you got all your stuff in there, and you're packing it all away. So even now, like if I go up in my attic, it's packed away. My termination letters from a couple of teams, Jacksonville and I believe Baltimore, are still up there. But
What coach had the biggest effect on your life? And what did you learn from that coach that you apply now that you're the head coach in business? Is there one that sticks out? You
Man.
don't have to name this name, but if this is an
Yeah.
easier question to answer, this is a very interesting thing I've learned. A lot of times I ask very successful people mentor, and then
Yeah.
I started to learn that there weren't a lot of those, that there were a lot of anti-mentors.
Really?
People who were their worst coach, their worst
Yeah.
boss, their worst teammate, who they learned and they do everything the opposite of that person because they saw the damage that caused. But you said, I think before we even started shooting, that coaches are so important to the growth
Sure.
of the game and to these young men who are, out there trying, working
Yeah.
toward a goal.
Yeah, I had a number of coaches that poured into me that allowed me to get to the success that I eventually had. My high school coach, Mike Barber, when I came to Texas, he was a former player, tight end with the Houston Oilers, played a number of years. He just believed, he's like, man, you got what it takes to make it to the end. And And
An NFL guy telling you that when you're in high school is probably.
man, they carry so much
Did
weight.
you float home that day?
He was pretty consistent about it, man. So it just felt good to have that kind of confidence from somebody that had been there and done that. And then when I got to college, my running back coach was spent a lot of time with, who was a man of faith, but also just a driver. And he had success with all of his running backs. So in the wave of, there was J.J. Arrington, there was Adam Chinobi Echemandu, there was Marshawn Lynch, there was myself, there was Java Best, there was Shane Vereen, there was C.J. Anderson. He coached them all.
Wow.
Right? So of just
same O-line coach. He was the running backs coach that whole time.
The running backs coach, yeah, he was the same running back coach the whole time.
Well, he was the same running backs coach, but was he coaching alongside the same O-line coach the whole time?
For pretty much, yeah. Coach Mahalchik was the offensive line coach at the time.
Yeah.
I think he was there for pretty much most of that time.
That continuity's
with Jeff Tedford, yeah,
important. But what's that coach? Is it? Hey, this is how we live our life. Hey, this is how we prepare. But he's also like, hey, when I was your age, I made this mistake. Try not making that mistake. Trying to help you get ahead type stuff?
For sure. One thing he always did, he would hold me accountable, both as a man and as a player. If he as off the field of anything that he saw, he wasn't afraid to address me on it.
What would he be like, kind of walking around like you own?
Man, why are you hanging out with those group of people?
Or I saw you litter.
Those kind of bad things that I was doing.
I don't know.
But just
whenever anyone litters, I don't care who it is. If their parents are there, if they're 50 years old, I will walk up and go, you drop that.
Yeah.
And if I ever hold the door for someone and they don't say thank you, I will very warmly say, you are welcome.
Yeah.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
That accountability thing's weird. Because I've noticed in sports and in business that the people who avoid accountability are the people always trying to get away with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't care. You've said this term 6 times already today, and I love it. By any means necessary.
Yeah.
You want me to run stadium stairs.
Yeah.
You're going to put a camera out here to see if I do, right? Okay, I'm going to run them 3 times. Mm-hmm. Accountability is something that overachievers, they seek that. They love that because they want it to, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm going to wring every last ounce of potential out of what I've been given, and I'm going to leave no stone unturned. Not one.
Yep.
That just seems like that was your mom real young.
Yeah. Because I believe that you could never want more from me than I want more for myself. I'm
in your ear going, hey, you got to get us out of here. You got to get us to the NFL.
No, not at all. My mission is I knew what kind of situation that we were in as a family. And my goal was okay, if it's not going to happen anytime soon, then if no one's going to make the change, then I'm going to be the change. To make that happen. And I just took ownership of it and responsibility of just even as a kid, it was I'm 12 years old, 13 years old, and just hey, Mom, things are going to be different.
Did you know when you were sophomore, junior in high school what you were going to want to? And did you have any idea that, or were you just so lasered? You have to be lasered in to make it, to be the top one of the top 0.001 to make it into, the NFL is, there's that, the best athletes probably on the planet play in the NBA. The hardest best athletes on the planet probably play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You're lasered in on that to where when you start to see maybe the light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe it was the dark at the end of the tunnel. When you got smoked that one time, and you're like, man, I don't know if I want to keep doing that. How many kids did you have when you got hit that hard?
2.
You had 2 by then. Mm-hmm. So you're starting to see that life's older and I'm gonna have kids and things like that. When did you start considering, what am I gonna do after? Am I going to be, I know you did some commentating for a while.
Yeah.
You're great at that.
Oh, appreciate it.
You should do more of that. But you probably don't have time.
Yeah, it's the time.
Yeah. They need to get you on some college stuff.
Well, maybe one day when things settle down a little bit more, I'll be able to dive more into it. But for me, I didn't know what I was going to study in before going into college. When I got to college, I just really felt like business, marketing, advertisement. That is like something like consumer behavior. Those are things that I was like, why do people buy Coke and Dr. Pepper?
Because they're addicted to it.
Right.
Because it's got white sugar in it. Yeah.
So doing college, I kind of figured that out. But then I was laser focused on football because I believe like whatever has your gaze has your future.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important. Like, what do you go to when time? What do you go to in the times of need and adversity, and like where your eyes at? So I knew football was going to be it, and I feel like I was flawed. I had flawed thinking on it because I had this, and we're football players, athletes. We have this weird. We put ourselves in this box, right? Of where. And this is where we get in with the identity issues. It's like football is the only thing that can give us the success that we want or fulfill us in that manner. But I remember
you're getting a very Pavlovian. Pavlov's dog, right? They would hit the bell and he would go. They trained him over time.
Yeah.
Well, you guys be brave, be the hardest guy on the field, reward.
Yep.
So you just keep hitting that bell.
Sure.
And it keeps reinforcing. Well, the only problem is that our bodies are not made to do what y'all do.
No, not meant to have those car wrecks.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
So did you have like an epiphany moment when you're thinking about how maybe my view of this was flawed, or were you thinking about like doing coaching and staying in the game and stuff like that?
So
not be like the best recruiter on the planet.
So one thing, when I remember my senior year, my quarterback was on the sideline of University of Washington, right there off the lake. And
get out of here with those dogs, man.
And I'm there on the sideline. We're getting beat up at the time. And my quarterback, Nate Longshore, looks over to me on the sideline. He says, "Justin, man, you're going to be successful in whatever you put your mind to, man." He said that to me on the sideline, right?
Of a game.
And I'm at the time, I took it as a disrespect. Because I'm like, what do you mean? The NFL one day.
Were you guys losing bad? Was that a Marcus Tuiasosopo year?
Ooh, it could have been. Lewis Rankin was running back.
No, that might have been a Jake Locker year.
It was Locker.
Yeah.
It was exactly Locker because it was Isaiah Stanback and then Locker.
Yeah.
So
Isaiah lives here.
He does. That's my guy.
You got to put in a good word for me, man.
Okay.
I can't get around his. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'd love to talk to him.
All right. Cool.
We stood in shocked amazement every time he would score. Playing for UW and just
He's
be
an
like,
exciting player. Yeah.
Can we get some non-1 stars out here? Ridiculous.
He was
Longshore's telling you're going to be good at anything you want. Which when you're on the sidelines of a game and you're losing and you've been looking forward to it all week.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about, well, the after party. I'm not really into that.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to win. I thought we had a chance.
Yep.
You do think about it's weird. You do think about deep stuff sometimes.
Oh, for sure. But I just thought it was weird that he was telling me this on the sideline, and I'm in my senior year getting ready to, hopefully be a draft prospect, and I was just like, I remember that moment because I was like, man, he's crazy. I'm going to be in the NFL one day. There's no question about it. To the NFL, and I got drafted 7th round, pick 233, drafted 2008 draft to the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm there, and I get fired after making the team after training camp. I get fired after the first game of the season, and then I go to Indianapolis, and I got fired after 4 weeks over there. And I come back, and I'm just thinking, like, man, what's next? Like, if football doesn't work out for me, and in my rookie season, I've already been fired twice. What's next for me? So I just started thinking, and then at that time, that Sports Illustrated article came out that 80% of NFL are depressed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm for sure don't want to be
There's
in that
something in
now.
there about addiction now too.
Yeah, I mean that is
Yeah.
a big thing that is all.
Down refrigerator Perry and help that guy, man.
Man, it's so
He's-
sad with
it's horrible.
a lot of players, unfortunately, that have gone down and actually led to death.
Running into stuff with your head doesn't.
Yeah, no.
Look, it doesn't give you a license to make bad decisions.
For sure.
But when your frontal cortex doesn't work anymore, you do make some
you
questionable
should.
decisions. I know quite a few guys who've worked with plant medicine, like psilocybin and ayahuasca, that's helped them a lot. And it's very interesting it's all mainstream now. But Rogan talks about it, but he still won't do it.
Yeah, well, I actually read about it first when we were reading Will Smith's book.
Have you ever done it?
No.
It's interesting.
Is
that a thing for you where you would feel a little bit of conflict because of your faith?
I believe so for me because, like, that I feel like that is that's another. You're trying to go to another state in order to find some type of clarity or peace.
Okay.
And for me, I find that in my relationship with. It's conflicting for me now. If you're talking about, marijuana for brain issues and things like that, that's a different discussion.
I feel like the true psychedelic stuff is different than like your just the fun recreational stuff. Which marijuana has its place in helping people, and it's natural. And Willie Nelson might live till he's 120. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this stuff, but I've worked with the plant medicine. I did a lot last year, and conflicted at the beginning just because is this what's going on? I figure as I get a little older, life's really short. And if you feel curious about something, as long as it's not, hurting someone, you may as well give it a shot. But it's interesting. It helps a lot of dudes.
No, I saw it, like I was mentioning, I was reading the book on Will Smith and how he was just he was in a really bad place and spot in life, and he was just kind of testing these different type of.
Well, when they got that Red Table podcast out there, I don't know. I feel so bad for that guy.
Man, I a lot more. And then I also just kind of really, it just really resonated with me a lot. Some of the things that but he talked about basically everything Aaron is doing right now, Will had did in his book. The plant medicine, the darkness retreat. He tried to do. I don't think either one of them lasted, if I remember correctly.
So didn't he start doing that around the time that he did that movie called like 28 Grams, or the other one? He is gonna die of some disease. Rosario Dawson,
robot, or
Rosario Dawson's in it. She always texts me. I'm like, Rosario, I can't.
Oh man,
no, I'm just kidding. I thought that was part of it because it was real heavy. Fish in the bathtub, and it kills him, and he gives all of his organs away in the movie.
Yeah, no, I don't. I can't remember if it was.
I
a
should
movie
check that book out.
But it was an amazing book, especially on the audio side. It was probably one of the most entertaining books I've ever listened to. Yeah, it was great. But it just gave me a deeper respect. And I actually, we were going on a family trip to Destin, and we drove there from here, and the whole way I was just locked into the book. And I had never been like that for any other book, especially for that long period of time on that drive with 5 kids in the car. And it was just so entertaining and engaging.
Who on the field at the highest level are the most misunderstood because they are the best pound for pound athletes, but they don't look like the best pound? You know where I'm going with this. There's no you without them. and they never get credit.
Man.
And everybody just thinks they're big fat slobs. And they got the fastest hands, and people don't understand what a guy like Andrew Whitworth
Yeah.
can do. Gosh, this Walter Jones. At Seattle.
For sure.
Tyron. Crazy.
Yeah, he's a specimen.
Offensive lineman, what's that bond like with a runner and the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's a special bond. I mean, there is no us without them, opening up holes. You can't do it on ourselves. I mean, unless you're Barry Sanders. And it's just very hard. It's the run game. In order to go, it takes everybody involved, and especially the offensive linemen, to open things up. And I think about some of the best that I play, whether it's the Walter Jones, the Marshall Yondas of the. These are people
who got hired at Indy. Did he not get hired?
No, he didn't. I think I can't.
Weird.
The Philly offensive coordinator.
I like Jeff Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
are those guys hardcore though? Are they the most hardcore of all the dudes in the 53, the O line, because they just don't talk and they're.
Those guys, I mean, in the trenches, the team, like if you want success, I don't care where you are at and what level, it's built in the trenches. Like you got to have defense and offensive lines, and usually those guys are probably the toughest, most hardworking, just like craziest guys because they're bashing their heads on every single play. They don't get a break, right? And then they're carrying all of that weight at the same.
Looked like 6 months after he retired.
That's why those guys that they're losing. Some of those guys, I mean, they're not necessarily, their frames weren't necessarily built to handle all that weight, but over time it just happened, and then they lose it. They shrink. Where running backs, we gain weight at the end.
Yeah. Well, you got those quads. It's hard to get the quad muscles to get yoga-ins felt after you've been maxing out on the. After you've been maxing out on the squat bar forever and ever. What was your go-to fitness routine? Were you thinking of crazy stuff to put yourself through? Were you pretty disciplined at the same thing all the time? Were you swinging sledgehammers? Was there anything you were doing to try to give yourself an edge?
Lots of resistance training. Whether it was squats with chains or pull-ups with chains.
Proof is in that video.
Yeah, right. So I was always.
Then you got to show off with the tats, with the color on them, though.
Well,
that takes some serious swag right there.
I don't have any tats, so
was that what'd they do? Put that on your arm?
What?
On that?
There's just a tan line. Ink on my body. I'm too afraid of needles for that.
Are you?
But, yeah, I can't.
I think you should get the portrait of each one of your 5 children on your back.
On my back.
On your back.
It might be a bit much.
Get them on your ribs. That's the most painful. Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I've heard.
I think the inside of your elbow right here is not. And I've got the inside of your armpit is also. I feel
like your eyelid could be pretty tough too.
Yeah, the eyelid. But I think when you're getting them on eyelids or your cheek, I don't think you feel pain.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, doesn't that mean stuff? Probably, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. The esprit de corps, the locker room, the guys, is the NFL fraternity what everybody says it is? Is it are you guys remember Vontaze Burfict?
Oh yeah, of course.
Just unbelievable player.
Mm-hmm.
But he pissed a lot of people off because he was. Yeah. I mean, Indomitian would do that in his first few years, where he's playing hard. You love to have him on your team, but are y'all talking to each other? A lot of, and the old school guys are like, oh, this is bullshit. These guys talk to each other on Twitter during the game. More technology advancements in the last 10 years than we had in the previous 200 put together. So now everyone's kind of connected. Do you guys watch out for each other? Is that
I think so, man. It's a strong fraternity. Even if at the entirety of the league in its existence, there's still not a lot of people that have played this game, right? In the grand scheme of things, so when we see each other, whether it's a grocery store or out in public, it is all love, and there's still respect because you put your. But we know that in order to make it there, like you put your body through the ringer, and there was a certain level of and mental fortitude that allowed you to get there. So there's a mutual respect.
what's the toughest injury you ever sustained?
My arm, I broke both bones in my arm.
Would they have to plate that thing up? And,
Yep, 2 plates in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Were you getting Toradol shots or any of that kind of stuff to make
Sometimes.
game days?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And then what's training table and nutrition like now compared to when you were in college? Because we've also learned so much about nutrition in the
sure.
last 10 years. Do you feel like if you knew about nutrition then, what you knew?
Enough, I went to a school at Cal in which I had a trainer there that was like this is another layer. Like if you want, you need to tap into and dial in on was the nutrition. Watch what you eat. Be careful what kind of fuel you put in your body. So ever since then in college, I was just like aware of what I was putting in my body. And I was
Did you ever drink in college?
never drink?
Really?
No.
Did you
Never
ever
drank,
drink
no
when you
smoking.
played?
No.
Just
I've drunk one time at a wedding before, and that was
like
champagne.
it's just not gonna. It's not a performance enhancing,
No.
productivity encouraging. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a like kind of obsessive, just kind of behavior, like mentality on things, and might be.
I got you there. Tell me the story about what. So what's this? What is this shower pill thing called? Because
Well-
it's on Wikipedia, and then that's
Yeah.
all there is.
Yeah,
You
yes.
need to do a YouTube video about it and be like, y'all, here's the story, and put it on your YouTube channel.
So shower pill is a product that we started with.
And you got a bunch of your teammates to invest.
Yep, I did. We started with a product from a pain point into the locker room. We couldn't always get in the shower when we wanted to. It was so much so that in the locker room, it was a joke. Like, going to shower at a later time. You couldn't
Yeah.
get in the shower.
Yeah.
So we turned that joke into an actual product, which is a disposable washcloth, antibacterial towelette to remove sweat, dirt, body odor. So after a workout, after camping, after training, hiking, whatever, if you're
Nice.
every interval of sweat, you can use this to clean up on as a kind of a shower on the go solution.
Okay.
And we built that up and turned it into an actual brand, which is now called Hustle Clean, in which we build hygiene, wellness, and recovery products for the everyday athlete and fitness enthusiast. So that is housed underneath there. When we do hand sanitizer, we do muscle types too, and we're getting more into the soaps and lotions.
Are you were you coming up with a lot of the research development ideas at the beginning, or were you collaborating about a lot of that using your experience with? See, football's different than a lot of other sports. People don't realize this.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many coaches. You have so many little subsets of a much bigger team that all have to operate perfectly. But the amount of collaboration, especially with good teams, is something that guys like you then go, well, it worked over there, and we won. Me than me, and let's start talking through ideas.
For sure. So I started this business with two of my college teammates, and while I was in I started while I was in the NFL. So while I was doing a pretty time-intensive day job, they were kind of handling to make most of the R&D stuff work. We're working with manufacturers in order to produce the product, at least the different iterations we went through.
Did you get last signature on everything though?
Oh, we all signed. It was a team effort, so
yeah.
we trust each other, and it got done. And we grew the business. I mean, from essentially people laughed at us, said this We've grown the company pretty significantly, and there's other competitors in the space, hundreds of brands that are probably in the space right now. And
That's a big thing in Brazilian jiu-jitsu because those guys get staff all the
yep.
time. Is that one of the verticals that you guys service
So
quite a
we've
bit?
done with like wrestling,
Yeah.
some MMA stuff in the past. Worked with some UFC gyms in the past. So it's definitely something that at least our product is a great value.
So
add
now
for.
if you go to Orange Theory and they're like, let's wash away the weekend, you guys, let's think about that angry boss. Now you know. You should be an Orange Theory director. You're so positive. You should get up there
I'm
and
gonna get
go,
up there.
yeah, pain is just the start, y'all.
Yeah,
It's just the start.
I might need to do that. That might be the content that I need to capture for our launch into the studios.
You should, man. That would be cool. When you are going to give a keynote, are these a lot of times at like entrepreneur conventions, or these at like franchising conventions or sales conventions? What types of events are these that you're speaking at a lot of times?
Sure, it varies. Speaking to the corporate leadership team there, spoken to the Air Force, the military group. I've done schools. Mostly it's businesses. They're bringing in me talking to their sales teams or executive teams. Sometimes I'll go and get the opportunity. I'll get to speak to, NFL teams like whether it's the Raiders or. Yeah,
What are you telling those? What are you telling those young guys, those college? Like, hey, transfer portal probably looks real bright and shiny, but sticking it in there has its payoffs. Do you throw little opinions in there when you're, or are you mostly just telling them your experience?
For sure, I'm trying to, when I go in there, I'm trying to leave them and equip them with tools that allow them to be successful both on and off the field. But more importantly, like how they should handle adversity, how they should reframe the way they think about it. It's kind of the core message that I'm giving them. Because I mean, no matter what walk of life or what profession you're in, like there's challenging moments that are going to be consistent. So I just try to equip them as much as I can, and it just give them hope. Like I was an underdog, I was undervalued, been able to do a lot of really cool things in spite of all the odds that I had to overcome.
I mean, do you think you had, because like maybe your straight on speed wasn't crazy, that that a lot of people just wrote off your measurables because this guy doesn't have Sproul's speed or doesn't have Maurice Jones-Drew speed.
The size, the height, the weight,
the size
speed.
thing. That's the crazy thing to me, though. People come after they make fun of little dudes all the time, and little dudes dumb. Like if you ever get to watch a game of rugby, you will see 7-footers and 5'3" dudes.
Really?
And a lot of times the 5'3" guy runs the game, the scrum half or the fly half.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that attitude, man. It's that dog attitude.
Well, this is a lot of perceptions that we had to overcome for, the running back position. For one point, there was just like the big back was the Jamal Lewis's, the Eddie Georges.
Sure.
Just like this.
Everybody was Derrick Henry for a while.
Yeah.
For real.
And then there's this, notion of that, because you're smaller means you won't be able to handle the load because you're not as durable enough. But whether you're big or small, you're probably going to have some injuries or some aches and pains with the profession, no matter what it is.
Are you going to write a book?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
That's awesome. Do you feel like led, like it's part of your mission since you're faith-based to be getting out there? Maybe I doubt that sometimes these keynote speeches are just like, putting New Benningtons in every car, in every parking lot that you own.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it's part of your mission in life to get out there? And Richard Branson, Virgin Airlines, he's an amazing guy, dyslexic. His documentary on HBO is crazy.
Yeah,
he started a magazine. He was a dyslexic. He started a magazine. He would just interview the most well-spoken people he knew and then just print the entire interview. Not edit it, nothing. Just record it, printed in the.
Wow.
And one of his favorite quotes of mine is the point of life should be figuring out hard or complicated things and then sharing them with everyone when you figure them out.
Man.
Is that something that you feel like you've got a call there to call people to a higher standard, that like the true rebellion in life is your own standards being higher for yourself, being higher than anyone else's could possibly be?
Man, I totally believe that this is my calling, is to inspire and encourage and empower individuals to reach their potential in life. There's a lot of things that will stand in the way from us reaching our potential, and sometimes it's our own selves that are standing in the way.
It's like almost all the time that it's our own selves.
So
you know?
I just feel like, with my story and everything that I've overcome over the course of my life and the things I've learned, it's my job to go out and make sure that those individuals don't feel like they're by themselves or alone.
Sure.
Or like this is an isolated journey. Like, no, you have people that have kind of have that same feelings and the same emotions that have been able to go on and do some pretty cool things, and you will too.
Do you help out other athletes? Do you have guys reach out to you like, hey man, can I get a coffee with you and maybe you give me some perspective on what you think? Is that something that you think you'll do more of as you become more successful?
Yeah, no.
You can't go get on stages, even if you're a good football player, and talk about adversity to business people if you haven't had to go through business adversity, because it's different.
Yeah.
It's not 3.5 hours. It's all day, every day, and it'll chew your brain up and spit you out a hollow person. So the fact that you've started, kept it going, made payroll, grown it, scaled it, getting bigger contracts gives you authority when you get on those stages, but then using that opportunity to then turn it toward, y'all don't understand, we're way more powerful than we even know we are.
Yeah, exactly. It's
cool, man. It's awesome. When people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? Should they reach out to Krista at C Agency, or should they reach out to you on your Instagram?
For sure, Krista at C Agency is a great contact, but also Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm on all those platforms, and I'm on there pretty consistently, believe it or not. And would love to connect and encourage or challenge. Or
when if there's gym owners or MMA dojo owners that want to get their hands on your product, what's that website they should go to?
Should go to hustleclean.com. We're available there. We're sold in every single Target store across the country, REI, Kohl's, and Orange Theory now. So,
man, that's awesome. And lastly, when you became a father for the first time, was it like you knew, or was it kind of unexpected?
Oh yeah, I knew.
Okay,
yeah, I knew.
Have you always wanted a big family?
Yeah. I knew I wanted a lot of kids. I wouldn't say that I knew I was gonna have 5, but I knew I wanted a few kids.
What did it do to change you as a man? Like, as soon as you had your first, was your first child a girl or a boy?
It was a boy.
Yeah, firstborn son.
Yeah, my firstborn son, Judah.
Okay.
He's.
I like how you throw it down, man.
He's. And my kids have really showed me, one, how selfish I can be.
Sure.
How self-centered I can be, focused, and how great, like, God loves me. Like, because I know that I love my kids, all 5 of them, and all their different personalities.
So you can see more clearly that your Creator feels that about you.
Man, how much more the Creator cares for me as an individual, and how even when I go through tough times, and if I know my son is making a mistake, and like, I want what's best for him, but sometimes what's best for him is discipline. Sometimes what's best for him is allow him to sit and rest and kind of process the adversities that he's in, so he can learn and grow and mature.
Sure.
And really understanding that dynamic, and kind of really see, like, man, God is, even if like life is not feeling like it's the greatest at a time, like, it's all working for me. I have a good father that loves me and has a plan and purpose for me, and it kind of really brings that perspective more. It's more clarity for me there.
Sure. Finally, as a pro athlete, still in good shape, what's something you've learned recently that's super valuable that you didn't know about sleep or about peptides or about levels or about nutrition or about working out that you could share with the viewers and listeners that maybe you've added to your repertoire of staying in shape as you start to get into those older years?
Man,
Is there one thing like for me this whole last summer, I discovered that I was 100% dehydrated all the time.
Really?
And I would drink 3 to 4 gallons of water because I work outside.
Uh-huh.
But nothing else in there. So I started adding Himalayan sea salt, trace minerals, and I would get a headache every afternoon because I work out outside after work. Like the hottest part of the day is when I like to work out.
Yeah.
And play real aggressive music and get out there. That way when I get home, I'm nice and calm. And as soon as I started that hydration protocol, no more. And I thought it was a sun headache. It was dehydration, 100%. They did a study. They give 2 groups. One group a half a gallon of water, full, all the electrolytes, everything, sodium, all that. The other a full gallon of water. These guys are off the job twice as much because they have to eliminate twice as much as these guys. And these guys don't perform as good as these. So dehydration is what I've learned this last year that I didn't even really realize I was doing wrong. Is there anything that you've like picked up?
I would say, as you asked me that, I would say self-care as a performance enhancer.
Like meditating and things?
I would say meditation, prayer, which I've always done, but it's just like taking better care of myself emotionally. So
Not beating yourself up.
yes, and then allowing other people in. I think most of my life being that man and being that tough individual, being that leader, like I didn't open myself up for just like deeper connection with other men in my life or women in my life that are really close outside of my family, right? And I didn't realize how much better I perform when I'm connected. Like I didn't know how much I missed as far as like that locker room setting with
That
just
energy
like
it's a high you can't explain.
it is. And I've been missing, and as an entrepreneur, it's a very isolating journey at times. It's a very lonely journey at times. So you block yourself off from that connection because entrepreneurship, for the most part, what I don't like about it, it's a lot of posing going on. And it's about filtered reality. It's about showing whatever is your best at all times, and we never discuss what is really wrong with us.
Yeah, and it's a lot of men doing it. And then what happens is a lot of men then push a lot of other men away because men want to say, "Hey, you ever feel like this, man?" But they feel too embarrassed to do that.
Exactly.
Okay. Final 2 questions. What is your we're ready to roll? It's on your probably your iPod back then, the last song you're listening to before you hit the field. Was there like one?
See, I was a different guy. I wasn't like a
See, I listen to movie soundtracks.
Really?
Like the Braveheart movie soundtrack when I'm warming up, like you don't it's over for you already.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. So I was a gospel music guy.
Okay. Kirk Franklin or what?
Kirk Franklin, Tamala Mann, Marvin
The
Sapp,
Winans.
or I like the Winans
Yeah.
too, James Fortune. So a number of folks, because before I go into battle, I didn't want to be too ramped up because I realized that when I was on the field, like I really had like I could be going out here and something could happen to me that could alter my life drastically.
Sure.
So I wanted to be in the mindset, just be at peace. Like I know what I'm getting myself into, and I'm ready to accept. I'm praying that God will just keep me, but I'm ready to accept any smoke that come my way.
I don't know what it's like in the pros because I never got to play in the NFL, but I do remember. I think the most legendary story about the Ravens in that Super Bowl year was that Ray said that he played gladiator before every game.
Yeah.
Was there a move? Was there a team movie that, or remember when Remember the Titans came out? Denzel.
Oh yeah, I love Remember the Titans. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I would say I would watch highlights of great running backs before the game. Yeah, before the game.
Awesome.
That give me
visualizing.
Yep.
Man, Justin, I appreciate your time. 2 hours. I know you're a busy man. Yeah, people reach out to Justin. I really appreciate you. You got to do it again.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
You need to be on more stages, man.
Thank
you do. You're awesome. Your energy is great. Thank you. Absolutely.
Appreciate you having me.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for checking out my videos here on the JESS MARSHALL YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for sure. Hit that bell. Press that button to watch the next video. If you got a question you have about any of the topics I bring up in the videos, drop a question below, and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you ASAP. See you on the next one.